Thanks for joining me for this intro into Dear Esther. This is a game that's been out for a little while. It's not new on the scene. A lot of people have already played through it. It's been well discussed, etc. I originally played it when it first came out and have had it uh, metaphorically sitting on the shelf. But I'm revisiting some of my indie games with a new appreciation, especially having played some other walking simulators, as they're called, and wanted to give Dear Esther another try. I feel like I didn't quite give it its due, and I think it's time. One of the things that I really loved about this game was how atmospheric it is. You really step into it in a complete world of mystery. Some of the appeal in other similar games, that sense of mystery.
Dear Esther, the gulls do not land here anymore. I've noticed that this year they seem to shun the place. Maybe it's the depletion of the fishing stock driving them away. Perhaps it's me. When he first landed here, Donnelly wrote that the herds were sickly and their shepherds the lowest of the miserable classes that populate these Hebridean islands. 300 years later, even they have departed.
As I was saying, some of the other games that have a similar appeal in that atmosphere and mystery are games like the original Myst, Riven, Obduction now. There's a lot of horror-themed games also, which I used to really be into, but I just don't enjoy them. Maybe it's the tension, the fear, that sense of lurking, the menace. Oh, you know what? I think that's it. I don't want to live in a world of menace. And I think there's enough in the news already to fear or be wary of, without putting myself in what professes to be a game, but instead is designed to make me tense and fearful. I don't want that. And if my goal is escapism or a delightful distraction from the world, I definitely don't want to bring more of that tension with me. Now, I don't remember the control system. Normally, when I first start a game, of course, I'll look it up, so I have an immediate grasp of what we're doing. It has the typical, of course, WADS. Always interesting when the graffiti is of, what is that? Chemical bonds? Something? Formula? I don't actually remember what... Oh. Alright. I don't actually remember what the mystery was here. Which I guess is good, because things like that bird totally startled me. If that happened in real life, I'd jump for sure. I think when you come across like abandoned places that have like discarded things from regular life, when you see those clips of like Chernobyl, the discarded households and all the abandoned things of life, toys and the kitchenware, offices. It's that much eerier. It's that wonder of who were they? What could have been? I think abandoned theme parks are the best. You know, it's like in horror movies when they want to scare you. They have the characters like walk through an empty playground. It's all rusted over, and then you see it breeze, and the swings move on their own, and you hear that like rusty screeching sound. And then children skipping and singing in the distance. Yeah, I'd be so freaked out. I'd be like, alright, I am going home. RFN.
There was once talk of a wind farm out here, away from the rage and the intolerance of the masses. The sea, they said, is too rough for the turbines to stand. They clearly never came here to experience the becalming for themselves. Personally, I would have supported it. Turbines would be a fitting contemporary refuge for a hermit.
Stairs.
The revolution and the permanence.
Graphics aren't bad. They're not super fancy, but the world texture looks pretty good. Oh. Alright. Like the perfect circle. There's that equation. I had an art teacher in Alaska that drew that on a board. Similar. And talked about, imagine when looking at your drawing where the eye will be taken to as it follows that
I have
arc.
found the ship's manifest, crumpled and waterlogged under a stash of paint cans. It tells me that along with this present cargo, there was a large quantity of antacid yogurt bound for the European market. It must have washed out to sea. God knows there are no longer gulls or goats here to eat it.
What's that? Do you think it was drawn or dragged on there? I honestly don't remember. Where's my flashlight? Antacid. Did he call it yogurt? Yogurt? I wouldn't mind some yogurt. Nope, not a swimming simulator. Or jumping. After having played open world games like Spider-Man and Assassin's Creed, I always want to jump on things now. It's like one of the first things I test out in a game. Can I jump? I know that for the design of a particular game where they want to control your path, they're not going to give you free rein on jumping, climbing up every damn wall, but I still want to be able to. Certainly want to be able to run. Can we walk faster than this? Now the sound of the ocean and the wind, it does a good job of kind of making you feel cold. Biting cold air. I don't know if this is dawn or dusk. Dark. Alright. Alright, what do you think? Left? Or right? Oh, I guess we can only go left. There's a path on that side though. We'll have to check that out later. Is that a stool? Oh, it's the edge of the fence. Ha! Okay. So of course, curiosity points here. That beacon.
The mount is clearly the focal point of this landscape. It almost appears so well placed as to be artificial. I find myself easily slipping into the delusional state of ascribing purpose, deliberate motive to everything here. Was this island formed during the moment of impact? When we were torn loose from our moorings, and the seatbelts cut motorway lanes into our chests and shoulders, did it first break surface then?
Good question.
When someone had died or was dying, or was so ill they gave up what little hope they could sacrifice, they cut parallel lines into the cliff, exposing the white chalk beneath. You could see them from the mainland or a fishing boat, and notice and aid, or impose a cordon of protection, and wait a generation until whatever pestilence stalked the cliff paths died along with its hosts. My lines are just for this, to keep any would-be rescuers at bay. The infection is not simply of the flesh.
Foreboding, that's for sure. Looks kind of like a grave marker. Definitely looks purposeful. So there's a branching of the way, left and right, fence in the middle. This one overlooks that patch. See all those stones. Now my instinct, I think as with most people, is to go right. You know, when entering a store, most people are drawn to the right, unless you give them some kind of enticement.
I quote directly, a motley lot with little to recommend them. I have now spent 3 days in their company. That is, I fear, enough for any man not born amongst them. Despite their tedious inclination to quote scripture, they seem to me the most godforsaken of all the inhabitants of the outer isles. Indeed, in this case, the very gravity of that term, forsaken by God, seems to find its very apex. It appears to me that Donnelly, too, found those who wander this shoreline to be adrift from any chance of redemption. Did he include himself in that, I wonder?
Can I go up? No. Can't jump, can't climb, can't run. But I can explore to fulfill my curiosity. I think curiosity is a wonderful thing for a lot of reasons. It's that compulsion to discover and investigate. I think it's a big part of why people learn. Like not just going to school for a degree, but striving for new knowledge and experiences. It's natural to children, but I think adults start to forget it. I think that's where they become mired in habit and pattern and complacency. That loss of curiosity and playfulness.
Dear Esther, I met Paul. I made my own little pilgrimage. My Damascus, a small semi-detached on the outskirts of Wolverhampton. We drank coffee in his kitchen and tried to connect to one another. Although he knew I hadn't come in search of an apology, reason or retribution, he still spiraled in panic, thrown high and lucid by his own dented bonnet. Responsibility had made him old. Like us, he'd already passed beyond any conceivable boundary of life.
Okay, so that was the first acknowledgement of Esther. The lighthouse. And it looks like a ship. A trawler, maybe?
I would leave you presents outside your retreat in this interim space between cliff and beach. I would leave you loaves and fishes, but the fish stocks have been depleted and I've run out of bread. I would row you back to your homeland in a bottomless boat, but I fear we would both be driven mad by the chatter of the sea creatures.
I have to say, I'm glad for the flashlight. As much as there are these illuminated drawings, I guess? Phosphorescent. Curious. It does still look like that chemical formula, but off to the sides, I don't know if that's supposed to be tree-like or like veins, part of a creature. I mean, that kind of looks like a giant squid. I don't know. Or nerves? Nerve cells, maybe? There's nothing on there, right? No, it's just those. Okay. And then out the other side. Did you hear that? Okay, I didn't see anything. I don't know if I want to see something. Did we just go in a circle? I thought we'd actually managed to go somewhere. Sorry, I know this is a repeat, I wanted to make sure I didn't miss something. Or maybe it truly was just a loop. We looked at those. That's the giant squid. Chemical formula with branches. Nerve cell. Yeah, okay. That was all of it. Now he was saying he would leave loaves and fish, but that was more like a promise, as if he could, not as if it was something that he did. So is this imaginary letter, or is this something that truly was a conversation? Crossed over there. It's that red light. That's the thing that's calling. Is it compulsion or curiosity, though?
I dreamt I stood in the center of the sun, and the solar radiation cooked my heart from the inside. My teeth will curl, and my fingernails fall off into my pockets like loose change. If I could stomach, I'd eat, but all I seem capable of is salt water. Were the livestock still here, I could turn feral and gorge. I'm as emaciated as a body on a slab, opened up for a premature source of death. I've rowed to this island in a heart without a bottom, all the bacteria of my gut rising up to sing to me.
Well, he doesn't sound well at all, does he? And then more of these stones. So these are the ones that look like grave markers up there. But I don't know if they're just like ceremonial stones, especially with the way they're arranged and the fact that these drawings are on them again. So I wonder if this is the same phosphorescent paint. It goes up that way. That cuts through there. Alright. Center root it is. Some blue sky up there. Does it feel like it's brighter than it was before? Unlike Riven and Mist, there's no technology puzzles that I can see. But there's that mystery, that abandoned land.
Dear Esther, I have now driven the stretch of the M5 between Exeter and Bristol over 21 times. But although I have all the reports and all the witnesses, and have cross-referenced them within a millimetre using my Ordnance Survey maps, I simply cannot find the location. You'd think there would be marks to serve as some evidence. It's somewhere between the turn-off for Sanford and the welcome break services. But although...